Hey guys, thanks for joining us for tonight's devotional. For tonight's devotional, I'm just going to be reading and talking about forgiveness, which is a topic that we may hear a lot about, but I'm just going to try to put it real simply, like what the Lord tells us. And I'm reading out of Matthew 18, verses 21 and 22, and you may be familiar with this. Then Peter came to him, verse 21. Then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? And when Peter asks this, he was actually being quite generous to forgive somebody 7 times. Imagine somebody, and we'll just take a day. Imagine somebody doing something against you, sinning against you 7 times in a day. That'd be a lot. We'd be fed up. And he says, to be a perfect man, looking at that number of perfection, 7 times. And Jesus says, no, you have to go further to be like the Lord. No, not 7 times, Jesus replied, but 70 times 7. And, even if you do the math really quick, that's 490 times. So you put that into the context of a day, and that is forgiving somebody less than every 3 minutes. It's like every 2.9 minutes. You're having to forgive somebody. And some of us may have those people in our lives. And if you don't have those people in your life, then you might be that person that does it to others. I'm only joking, but at the same time, Jesus asks us to do something that is almost impossible. It sounds impossible, So we look at that and we stand there and we say, really? Because there are some people that do some horrible things to us. And some of us like to categorize it, whether Christian or non-Christian. Here it's saying, in some translations it says brother. But as I've walked in my life, I've realized that if I follow after the Lord and I don't sit there and try to draw lines on who I forgive and who I don't forgive, I find this freedom in forgiving. A freedom, it frees me in forgiving and letting the Lord have his way, and there's lots of things that go along with that, but I'm just talking about just straight forgiving with the power of Christ, with his unconditional love pouring into you, because that type of forgiveness isn't really found in me. I have to run to him and he has to empower me to do it and to remember that I've done it and continually remind myself that person is forgiven. They're forgiven, and the Lord sets you free. I remember a time that, I grew up in a family of 7 children. So there's 6 boys and 1 girl, my sister, and our mom and our dad. And we're all, I have to explain to people, we're all biological brothers and sister. We have the same mom and dad, all of us, all 7 of us. And my dad left us while we were, at the time we lived in New York City, and our dad left us, and he had an affair, he left. So 7 children were left with mom in New York City. And there were some struggles there. I was about 13, 14 years old, and I remember becoming, in my mind, like everybody else I went to school with. I was a minority, and I was very a minority that was different from others, because I had both parents at home. And then around 13, 14 years old, all of a sudden I became a statistic. And I remember my mom talking to us and saying, let's hope in Jesus. Let's continue to look to Jesus. And because at that time, when that happened, people started talking down to me. It's funny, when a father isn't in the home, people like to say certain things to you. They like to devalue you. Probably just because they know your dad's not going to show up at their doorstep and take care of business. But people would say things to us, whether Christian or non-Christian. They would say, "Oh, it's a shame, you're minority. Statistics show that you'll probably be a criminal or whatever." But what they were not factoring in was Jesus Christ. And then almost 2 years later, my dad came back and he asked for forgiveness. And our mom said, "Your daddy wants to know if he could come back to the family." And after being gone for 2 years, I know in me, I was like, no way. This dude left us high and dry. He left us for dead. He didn't even care. He didn't even check in. He didn't even, pay the money he was supposed to pay you for your children, or, and I'm thinking all these things in my mind. And then I remember we were reading the Word, and some words stuck out to me. And it was in Colossians 3, verse 13. And this talks about Christian brothers and sisters. But what stuck out to me was what the Lord had done for me. And it says, "Make allowances for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others." And I remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday. And realizing the joy that the Lord had forgiven me, and He still does, and He continually forgives me. But just remembering that, that we have an obligation when the Lord tells us that He'll strengthen us to do His will. He'll strengthen us. He will give us the strength to forgive others, and we have an obligation there. And there's something that my mom used to say to me, and it's this: one of the best things to dig up the root of bitterness in your life is the shovel of forgiveness, the spade of forgiveness. And I'm just going to leave you guys with that. So God bless you.